updated information about when we're going online. Join Tom's free YouTube page. We look forward to seeing everybody there. If you go ahead and go to dtitrader.com, you'll see the live link. I'd like to welcome in our YouTube audience this morning. How are you guys doing? Great to see everybody here. If you want to participate in the YouTube group, make sure you click that bell so that you can get notified when we go online. And of course, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and click that thumbs up. Look forward to everybody joining us there. Risk disclaimer: there is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You and you alone are going to be responsible for the decisions you make, so make sure you make them responsibly. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. And let's go ahead and get into some of the highlights here. We've got crude futures opened at 69.95. First time I've seen an open below 70 in quite a while. So that is a big hallmark. High of 70.21. Low was actually, the high went up to 71.08, 71.16. It's climbing right now. But the low 68.90, and we'll see where in relation to that 70 level the market is going forward. A couple big levels as we start to close out the month of June. The high is 76.48.75. The open 75.95. Midpoint for the month 74.40.50. And the June low is down at 72.32 quarter. We did have some news out this morning. Core PCE coming in at 3.4% versus 3.4% expected. That's actually a win. You came in as expected. No surprises on the upper end. Final GDP, though, you're looking for some good news here. 2.1 versus an expectation of, versus a previous read of 1.6. So the revision went up a little bit. 2.1 for first quarter GDP. That is the final read on that. Next GDP number we get next month will be for the second quarter. Tom, in your opinion, when you look at that GDP number, it's got to make you feel pretty good about the way things lined up.
Yeah, it does. And I think that, a couple of things I want to point out to people is that if you look at the way the week is oriented, typically Thursdays are corrective days. Now, I want to talk about a couple of markets during my opinion stage, but this morning's first hour was really a curveball because typically it will hold up, into the cash market, but we hit a high, like Chuck said, 90, and the S&P dropped 100 points. I'm talking about straight drop. I mean, one tick after the other, it went down, and that everything fell off. But the clue was, if you were looking at some of the key tech stocks like Apple, Apple went down, from broke 290, it's down at 276 as an example. But the one that got me was Nvidia, broke that 200 level and was down at 190. Intel, which was 140 at about 818, 140, dropped to 128 and a half. I mean, they were selling the world there for 30 minutes. And I thought that they would ignore the news this morning, and maybe they will, because I do see some buying in the market. And one market we're going to highlight to you is as Chuck pointed out, was IWM. IWM has been in a world of its own, but IWM, if you look at everything else, IWM right now, let me give it to you. IWM, if I look at it, is 299.89, which if you look at that and you say, okay, well, that's pretty good. IWM's at that price. It's above its opening price and it's tried to go higher. And I had a conversation with Jonathan this morning. I said, put this trade out on IWM, a spread. He said, I thought you were I thought you were weak on the market. I said, I am, but this is an outlier here with IWM. And I said, I like the spread, and I like the fact that it goes out a little bit to July 31st. I think we paid like 90 something cents for that spread, but if you watch the stock itself, or the ticker, it's been trying to to go higher all morning. Doesn't mean it's going to stay higher, but I do think it's an outlier compared to this market. But I kept waiting for buyers to step in. They eventually stepped in. Uh, they eventually stepped in, and then we came back, but we're still on the defensive. If you look at D-mini is at 74.41, but at 74.75, they were still buying, and then all of a sudden you're back down here at 74.42. A little too early. Maybe it's a Genesis trade. Who knows? We went down to 73.90, and you just got to be careful in a market like this because the selling they turned on this morning was they didn't leave any prisoners. They didn't give you a lot of time to think about it. And we had a pocket put that we took profit on yesterday. If we'd held it this morning, we'd have made even more money. But I got to tell you, I'm happy to be out of it because I think right now you got to be in a sort of uh, a neutral position. And IWM might turn south if it does, but we got a spread. I'm okay with it going out, that far. But the one that got me was Intel, Chuck. It was at 140. Like I said, about 9:15, fat, dumb, and happy. And next thing I know, it's at 128 and a half. So, I mean, they came in and sold the heck out of it. And so if you do have Intel like I do, I would readjust the collars out to next Friday, right here at this 130 level, if you want to stay with it, which I do, and all that. As far as Micron goes, I made a point of saying if you bought it last night where I said to buy it, put a stop at 1164, it should get to 1245. That was an 8.5% gain. And everybody said, well, I'm not buying it. I'm not putting up 1,200 bucks to buy one share. But if you think about it, you didn't have to put up 1,200 bucks. You could have bought two shares actually with 1,200 bucks. On margin, you put up 600, make 50 bucks. Do the math on that, folks. When I give you one of those, you ought to think it out. I know a lot of you wait for options and stuff like that, but sometimes when you make 8.5% overnight, you don't want to turn it away. I was very confident that we'd go up and test that 1250 area, and I forget exactly. Let me tell you the exact high it went to before it went to 1255, went $10 higher. Now, I'm back in IWM, but I got to stop in now at 1144. Again, small position, probing it. I'm going to try to stay with that stock and build a position this year on IWM.
Yeah, Tom, I agree. It's kind of shocking to see a 100-point reference bar, but there are certainly some stocks that are doing well. The small caps held on their own. I think the Russell 2000, if you look at the S&P NASDAQ Russell, the Russell is the one that did not make a new low on RB3. So certainly IWM, which is the ETF for the Russell, very good place to look. Talk about good places to look, Tom. Yesterday you were talking about um, some of the trading information. We get this message coming in from, let's see, who is this from, Jonathan? Uh, Killing it on Palantir after the day trader lesson you and Tom presented yesterday. Thank you, Richard. Richard gives us some kudos there, so we appreciate that, Richard. So just goes to show you that these lessons on what we're looking at in the market and how to go about trading, that they do pay off. Richard, thanks for that feedback.
And let me give everybody some feedback. Palantir gave a sell signal on Atlas, and I mentioned it during the training. I said it looks negative, and Palantir this morning on that big sell-off went down to 107. Give me a break. That was a heck of a trade. But you got to take it where you can find it, and that was a heck of a trade, is what I'm saying. So anyway, just wanted to point that out to everybody.
Right, and of course we do want to give you the
Oh,
best
speaking of
information
that,
we can.
I talked to Emily this morning, and we're going to do a special broadcast tomorrow afternoon uh, at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon on Atlas. So just put that on your schedule. We are going to do that tomorrow.
And Tom, I got a message over on the YouTube side from Kevin wanting to thank you for Micron. He only took a share, but nice to make a steak dinner overnight. So
I'm telling you,
You
it
just
adds up. You don't have to buy, you don't have to play big. Everybody wants to do options, but sometimes, if you got the right stock, and I knew I'd be wrong if it broke that number I gave everybody. But let's talk about one thing before we go further, since we're in my opinion stage. Crude oil, and I don't know if it's, I don't know what's going on here, but crude oil is having a retracement. If you look at it, it went down and made a new low. This is a correction day where they usually go opposite. It's going opposite today because crude oil this morning, opened at 69.31. It's currently 71.11. That's a pretty good movement up as it corrects. Nowhere close to what it's lost, but still, that's something to keep your eye on because I'd look for it to turn back down either late tonight, late today, late tonight, and maybe set up a trade for tomorrow because it clearly is weak, and you just got to be a little patient when you see that kind of stuff.
all right. And Tom, just going over how valuable these train and trade sessions are, we can look at the past five that we've done. We talked about strong stocks from the FTD Wednesday of last week, a review of Roadmap on Thursday of last week. Jonathan and I had a lot of fun with that one while you were carried away to Atlas. That's another big event going on. Monday, we talked about top lessons from June. We're going to have a few more of those as we close out this month. Tuesday, talking about those collars, and when you look at a correction like today, you understand, why we look for those opportunities, collars. Wednesday, personal techniques used for stops. Tell you what, Tom, your timing on let's talk about stops the day before the market has a 100-point reference bar,
Yeah,
pretty
tell me
impressive.
about it.
Pretty impressive right there.
Yeah, I was hoping everybody listened to that webinar because you sure needed to stop in today's market as fast as that thing was selling. And you look at, the S&P went up. Here's what you got, and we'll go live today. I want to go to a live market at some point and show people why you're having this kind of sell-off and why actually I bought pocket puts yesterday or day before yesterday. Uh, anyway, but this is a relentless selling that's stepping in. I think I know why. We'll talk about that. If you think about it, July 1st, Chuck, let's count the days, okay?
Yeah.
Today is the 25th, 26th is Friday, uh, 27th, 28th, Saturday and Sunday, 29th and 30th. So we got 3 more days in the market. And here's the problem you got. This week's a negative setup. It tried to go higher. And the reason I say it's a negative setup, if you go to your weekly open on the S&P for this week, and when you're way below it here on Thursday, that's a negative setup.
Yeah, definitely 75, 76 that week open, currently trading at 74.25. And yeah, the month of June needs to do a lot to recover. We're going to find out about that. Don't forget, though, we do kick off the second half of the year, and we're going to have a great kickoff party, not Monday, but a week from Monday on July 6th. It'll be our Independence Day webinar after the holiday at 12 p.m. And so I certainly encourage everybody to come in there because this is, Tom, looking like it could be a negative month, positive quarter, positive for the year. And, one of the things about the market, this is something I figured out a long time ago from hanging out with you enough times. If the market can find a way to make it confusing, it will. So we're going to straighten out that confusion in this Independence Day webinar on July 6th. And also, for those of you who are coming to Sawgrass, hey, we got some bonus for you there because there are going to be things that show up in this market in the second half of the year that I got to be honest, I'm getting a little bit giddy about, and I'm still more than a week away from these sessions. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing research this weekend, Tom, and we're going to set things up and see how things roll out from
Doug,
there. And I
what
know
was
that
put things in perspective? What was the quarterly open for this quarter?
Oh
on the
man, I got to
unit.
go back and look at it. It's around 6,500. It's
The
6,500 something.
6,500
Yeah, I got to
this
double
quarter.
check that.
Yeah, I'd check
Yes.
that number. That sounds way too low. I don't have it handy. I'd like to know
Let
what
me
it
rephrase it.
was
It's in the 6,500s. It starts with 6,500. It may be like 6,552.
for the quarter.
Um, yeah, let me
I'll
get the
tell you what,
exact
when we go
number.
live, once we finish these slides and go live, we'll go look it up
So
on the.
I was off by a little bit, Tom. It's 6562
Is the quarterly open?
is the quarterly open. Quarterly open in the Nasdaq was 23,889.
So this quarter, I guess, I guess, wow.
Someone lit a fuse under this market in April. Ah, what happened in April? Oh, I know, and you know, and we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah, that's right. The blockade. Okay, never mind. Okay. I was trying to put things in perspective. Goodness gracious. That does put things in perspective, what you just gave me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a twisted look at the market, but it's something that we always do. And if you want to keep up with what we do on a weekly basis, make sure you join the T-Buzz weekly trade letter. $49.99 for 1 year access, guys. That's less than $1 a day. Sign up at dtitrader.com/weekly. Now, what does this include? You get the broad market update. We're kind of hitting some of the broad aspects here. Key news for the week. You needed to know that PCE and GDP were coming out this morning, and we've got more news next week. And not just those, but a few other reports that are going to be out there. We want you guys to know about it. Plus, we're getting into the heart of earnings season. And I think when you get earnings season rolling, as we will early in July when we get the financials coming up, I think it's either the second or third week of July. So it's going to kick off pretty soon. We're not that far away from that. So keep your eye out for those big earnings numbers. And as always, Tom's going to give you his weekly Magic 5 stocks. And you know, Tom, he's just got to throw in those special opportunities he sees in the market. He's going to call your attention to it early on, Monday after the bell, weekly trade letter. And yeah, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of development in the market. So if you want to stay up to date, make sure you're joining us for that weekly trade letter. $49.99, 1 year access, less than $1 a week, and well worth it. All right, let me keep going here, Tom. We have your books up here. The first book, Roadmap to the Markets, plus the trilogy, Winning the Day Trading Game, Markets Never Sleep, and Trade to Win, all available on Amazon, plus a complimentary audiobook. Link here, dtitrader.com/WDTG, if you want to know a little bit more about that. Please don't click that link until after the presentation. We want you here for everything, and we do have those slides available for you. Let me go ahead and post the slides one more time. We've got them posted a few times here this morning, but let's go ahead and post them in. Remember, you can always go back to the slides to get these links. More resources here at DTI white paper booklet, which is dtitrader.com/WP. Have you ever wondered why things work the way they do? The white papers do a very good job of explaining that. Our YouTube page up and running right now. And I see, as I mentioned earlier, Kevin was able to give us a message in there, relayed it to everybody. That was the thanks for the Micron. Uh, Tom gave Kevin a steak dinner last night, so always nice for that one. So let's see, previous subscriptions renew or Hector? That's a great question. I think when you buy it for the amount of time you bought. Now, if that subscription is running out,
Yeah,
you'll
that
have to
door is
renew at the higher
closed, Hector,
price.
because we gave everybody an opportunity about 2 weeks. The price now is 45 or 49.95.
Yeah, so if you don't have weeks already stacked up and you're looking to
A
buy
lot
new
of people
ones,
took advantage of that, and we let people do that, but that door is closed. Just too valuable.
yeah. So if you want new weeks, they're going to be $49.95. Important terms to know. We've got that available on our Google Sheet. Tom's penalty tape. Of course, options EDU. We're doing a lot of options right now. So guys, if you want to learn about how they work, make sure you go to dtitrader.com/optionsedu. And for your entertainment purposes, we got Tom's BNN interview linked here at the Vimeo website, so you can look through that at your leisure. Again, after we're done here with today's presentation. Now, June FTD stocks. I'm almost afraid to click in here, Tom, because a lot happened this morning. But let's go ahead and look in here. Just going to click that link and let's see what we got. VIX, yeah, not surprising to see the VIX still on that long side. Come down to our major markets here, S&P and NASDAQ, not really showing us what we want, at least if you're a bull. Both are below the FTD low for the month. And when you're looking at the first 3 days of the month and you're trading below them for the last 3 days of the month, okay, that's probably not the bullish scenario that many people were looking for. But the Dow, and let's see, we won't do Russell futures, but I do want to get down and look at the IWM because that's a big deal. But notice the Dow is up. So it's not just the Russell, but as you come down here, let's look at these. Here's the diamond and the IWM. Look at that. That is beautiful. And then you got financials, you have utilities, and you have, I believe I was told that was biotech. So we've got some ETFs that are working out very well. And yes, the S&P and the NASDAQ QQQs are down a bit, but they also present opportunities of their own. And we'll dig into those as we go through. My next step when I go through these FTD stocks, Tom, is always getting down to the tech sector here. And you can see even with Intel getting hit, you mentioned going from 140 to 130, they're still very solid for the month of June, where we opened at 109.43 and the FTD high was 118.29. So if you're sitting back saying, where's support in Intel? Well, first of all, you got that FTD high. That's the warning sign. If you get below that, watch out. Then you got the open of the month. So those are two numbers to keep a close eye on. And Tom, if you thought the S&P open of the quarter was way below the current market, check out Intel's open of the year. $37.77 for a stock trading now at $130. And if you think that's impressive, let's go down a little bit further. Here's Micron. How about that? So 1186.81, and that's even, Tom, with that big correction we saw this morning. Went down to 1136, already back up to 1186. So looking pretty solid on that front. We've got Seagate and Western Digital in here as well. They are doing great. Western Digital, very impressive for the year. And we keep going down the list. And let's see, where was the financials? Oh, here we go. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citi. Now, these three I think are pretty big, Tom, because the first round of earnings is going to be the financials starting up in about 2 to 3 weeks. And you look at the way that these stocks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Citi are performing, they're pretty solid, pretty hot, and we've got earnings coming up, so we'll see if things change between now and those earnings reports. And then what else? Anything you're looking at on this list that we need to pay attention to, Tom?
No, I tell you, I'll be glad when we go live because what I'm going to do, I decided I'd do this right today because I want to have the information myself, is we're going to start doing things I do over the weekend after we complete understanding Delta. So let's go through those slides and then we'll go to a live market.
All right. Well, let's do understanding Delta then. What do we got here? Actually, I think Jonathan's going to take over and walk you through this part. So, understanding Delta. Jonathan, it's all yours.
Yeah, and I'll be brief here. Think of Delta as a $1 move rule. Delta estimates the theoretical change in an option's price given a $1 move in its underlying asset. So, for example, a standard one contract of a stock option controls 100 shares effectively. And if it has a 50 delta, it's usually marked as 0.5, but some platforms just say 50 outright. But that equates to a $50 gain for in the option for every 1 point move in the underlying. So that's pretty pretty easy to understand once you understand how it works, and you can just open up an option chain and on say on the QQQ and find a 50 delta option and just watch the QQQ shares trade and see how the QQQ option trades. A little bit of tape reading exercise to not just read what's on a slide here, but witness for yourself the effects of delta. Now, call delta is positive, ranges from 0 to +1. And of course, call values rise as the underlying price of the stock rises. Now, put delta is negative. It ranges from -1 to 0. And the put values rise as the stock goes down, of course. These are, it's a good snapshot here, instruments with positive versus negative delta. On the positive delta side, you have long stock, you have long calls, or you have short puts. In other words, how to make money as the market goes up. On the negative delta side, you have short stock, short calls, and long puts, or in other words, how to make money as the market goes down. So that's a great slide there. We've talked about delta hedging quite a bit over the last several weeks. It's a strategy used to reduce your directional risk. And if you go delta neutral, you effectively have no directional risk. And so that's good in times of uncertainty. Let's compare the delta of two SPY debit spreads, and I want to get live prices for these. So I'm going to go build this spread here. The first spread is a call spread on the SPY expiring. Both of these expire July 31st. Tom, you wanted to look at the 790, 800, and that 10 wide call spread has a delta of +2 from what I'm looking at. On the put side, the July 31st 700, 690 has a delta of -4. And I don't know if you want to, you had me build the slide for a reason. So what would you like to speak on this there, Tom?
Yeah, I was trying to show that in this case, you'd need twice as many of the calls to equal the puts to have delta neutral. But you notice that if you have this spread on, okay, if you have this spread on, you've got a July 31st date. There's a chance by putting the spread on that you'll be able to make money on the put side and still have time to make money on the call side. And I just wanted to show the balance point. You could go up, I guess you could go down lower to get a -2 to match, but I just wanted to do those two numbers because you ask yourself with the QQQ at 714, is it possible that the market will break down and go down and test that 700 level? I would say yes, it's possible. We were at 705 or 7 yesterday, one of those two numbers. So that's a possibility. Is it possible that we could go up and test by July 31st to 790, 800? Oh, I think it's very possible we could get up that high. So, especially after July 1st, okay? And anyway, that's just some thoughts on that, okay?
And of course, the SPY and the QQQ are relatively close in price, which is not always the case, but got the SPY at 735 and the QQQ at 715.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to show people a balance, looking at the balance. What you got, both of them are 10 wide spreads and and show you how much delta you pick up. So if you had 10 contracts of the call, you'd be having delta 20. If you had 10 contracts of the put, you'd have -40 on 10. And the reason that put one becomes viable to you because you might want to be hedging your overall portfolio with that. So depending on how much delta you're carrying in your account, okay? Clearly, if you look at our 3-day algo, you ought to be as close to delta neutral as possible, if not negative delta in this kind of market.
Yeah, and I'm going to do this real quick before we go live. I want to get on the slide here. Two good sessions we held on past training trades. On Tuesday, June 9th, Tom talked about his Cadillac trading, but also neutralizing delta. I'll grab the actual reporting from that. That's not the reporting link. And on Monday, June 8th, the day before that, talked about delta neutral as well. So I'll post the recordings there. That's slide number 19 on the slide deck. Let's go on for now. And Tom, I'll turn it over to you. This is just very brief, 1 or 2 slides before we go live.
Yeah, I said that I expected coming in today we'd get a turn, and we did have a turn, but we also, what I missed was the avalanche of selling, and the E-mini is 74.38. That's 74.55, slightly below that 55, but it's been above and below today. So we got to see how this day works out to see how this forecast looks, just from that standpoint. Neutral is where you should be, I think, if you're just looking at the market itself, okay? Which is what I'm doing. Okay, let's go to a live market and look at RB3 this morning, okay?
All right, my roadmap is switching over here. I'm going to go to a 30-minute chart of the S&P futures. Should be showing now.
Okay, if you look at it, does everybody see RB3 right there on the E-mini? Give me a yes if you see that. So the market is still in doubt, trading from the high to the low of the day's E-mini, which basically tells you it hadn't made a new low on the E-mini, but it's basically telling you it's not just like run out and buy everything type day, okay? That's on the E-mini. And so Genesis is going to tell us a lot, and we'll get there once Genesis is over, maybe give us a clue. Now look at the NASDAQ, if you will. NASDAQ looks the same, but notice it's all in the lower half. Does everybody see that? Lower half. So we're just not really screaming to go buy the world. Okay. And now let's look at IWM. This morning I put on an IWM trade and I went out to July 31st. Look at this. Look at why I did it. Does everybody see that this is a different picture than we saw on the NASDAQ and on the E-mini? It's in the top half of the market. We did go up and make a new high over RB3. So as long as you stay above that 96, 93 low, this trade's still viable. Is what I'm saying. Okay, and that's something that the reason I went on and did it. In fact, for most of the morning, you were making money on the trade, and now it's probably gone back to where we got in or somewhere close on the IWM. Now, what I'd like to do next is ask a few questions that I'll be answering this weekend, but since we're here, let's just go through it. Jonathan, why don't you put up the research key from the roadmap?
All right, under tables, research key.
Yeah, and do daily if you will. Do daily.
All right. Gonna have to add the ticker first and then go over to
Yeah,
daily.
yeah, E-mini. Okay, we'll just do it one by one. All right, here's what I want to know. How high have we been and how low have we been this quarter? The quarter started when? April 1st, right? So how high and low have we been from April to today? This is the question.
76.48.
Okay, I'm gonna write these numbers down because I do this tomorrow anyway, but for Saturday. 76.48, right? And how low did we go, Jonathan?
Low for the quarter is 65.03.
65.03. So if I look at that and I say, okay, where would the midpoint come in? 76.48. and 6503. Divide that by 2, simple math. I'm at 70.75 would be the midpoint. Okay, and there it is right there. Jonathan's got it. 70.75. So you switched it over to the quarter to get the information, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
All right, let me disclose something to people. I've never done that in 40 years or 25 or 30 years, what Jonathan just did. You learned something. I always like to do it by the day, but that's a real quick and dirty way, which means we can go through what I want to ask next. Where's the NASDAQ midpoint?
All right, let me add the NASDAQ.
I learned something.
Midpoint for the second quarter on the NASDAQ, 27,320.
27,320. Okay, so we're above both those numbers, above the midpoint. Now let's look at some stocks. Where's Apple's midpoint for the quarter?
I got 281.5.
All right, so Apple now, if you look at Apple, and Apple is trading today at 278, we call it the noise area, but 281 is below the midpoint for the quarter. Okay. All right, let's look at NVIDIA's midpoint for the quarter.
We're going to call that 204.
204, some NVIDIA's negative, right? 204. All right, let's look at Intel's midpoint for the quarter.
$93.25.
Okay, so how many people like my concept of Cadillac trades? You gotta like it, they all win. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, pay attention. Does everybody see Intel at 93.22? So now let's take this knowledge on Intel. It's above, it's above its midpoint where Apple and Nvidia are not. Let's go look out because July 1st, everything will change when we get a monthly open, but let's just go look at Intel and let's go out to September and look at a 90. I think you probably do a 90, 87.5 in September.
Let me see here, Tom. Hang on just a second.
Other words, after July 1st, what happens? We get a new monthly open, so you can be a little bit more aggressive after July 1st, which is next Wednesday. But I got some Intel put options that I got money put up, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'd like to roll those to some other ones, maybe higher spreads. I still have a 50, 47.5, a 55, 52.5 on Intel. And I'm just waiting for it to click off. But let's go look at Intel out to September.
September, okay.
And we want to be below 93. So 90, let's try 90, 87.5. How much would you get?
55 to 60 cents.
Okay, so that would fit because you get at least 50 cents. So there's a trade that you could do. Let's do some math on this, okay, Jonathan? So if we get 50 cents and we have $2 of risk, right? That's 25%, correct? This is a true Cadillac trade, even in this market, okay? And that's a trade that we're going to put in TNT, Jonathan.
All right, I'll type it up and send it out now.
Yeah. See, the TNT people get all these benefits because I do this train and trade and we track it over there. But showing the ticket after you do it, see, what they would get if they were in TNT. in the next few minutes, even if they wasn't here, showing how it looks.
Tom, do you want to target? Did you say a target you wanted to put on there?
Yeah, let's target 11 cents on it.
Okay.
And just make it good to cancel. Let the Cadillac roll.
We'll go to talk and trade and we'll post this in. Here's what the ticket looks like.
Isn't that a beautiful ticket we came up with for TNT Talk and Trade? Isn't that a beautiful ticket? So if somebody says, hey, I go to Tom's Train and Trade and he pays me to be here, now you know why I say we do that. We pay you for be here to take these kind of trades. Nothing hard, no muss, no fuss. Anyway, I'll be doing a lot of work this weekend with a lot of these stocks, but the calendar says Wednesday, which means Tuesday night at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock Tuesday night, I'm going to have the information to get started in July. Now, July 6th, I will have the portfolio put together. Plus, I'm going to have a special showing people how to make money with Micron. I've got a setup and everything to do on Micron. Does that sound interesting to be able to put when it sets up, do a Micron trade, even if you just do one share and make money? I thought I'd teach you how to do it. I love discovering ways in the art of trading where people send me a love letter. Tom, I would have never thought about doing this in the evening. Now let's put Micron up there on the chart and talk about it. Let's go to an hourly chart, Jonathan, if you will.
Hourly chart. Okay. Yeah, I've got that up here. 60-minute chart.
Okay, the first question I'm going to ask, they had earnings last night, correct?
That is correct.
And the low we went to after earnings last night was somewhere, what was it, 990, something like that, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to remember. Here it is, 9 something. That low about 430, see it right there, that green bar? Yeah.
991.
Okay. If you want to hold this stock to the end of the year or whatever, then that's your real stop in it. Now I put a stop in at 1164 on Micron, and that's been a pretty good number. I also put a pivot number in of 1214. So I probe it when it's let me just say this. I probe it when it's above 1164, and if it goes above 1214, then I take a full position. Okay, so that's how I do Micron. But we'll get into some more details about it on Sawgrass night. Okay. David's a coffee drinker, and he said, "Man, this is going to fund my coffee drinking at Starbucks, learning about Micron. It's a great trade. You don't have to put a lot of money out there." And you know, the nice thing about it, if you got a margin account and you got to pay $1,200, you're only putting up 600 to have that one share. Yeah, and I found out something yesterday. Simlock, Mr. Spud, really was the reason Micron's around today. He was a big funder of this, a billionaire out of Idaho. You ought to read the story on him. He's a very interesting guy. So, I think you learned something today. I think we got a market that tells, oh, one last thing. Let me teach you something else. And I'm just going to give you the numbers. Jonathan, you call it the daily, and I want to make a point here. I'm going to give you some numbers, and I want them to say, look at things in view of the weekly open and Monday's high, Monday's low. Okay, so I'm gonna call up E-mini. You got E-mini? All right, Monday's high, Monday's low. 75.99, 75.13. Are you above or below that? Y'all tell me. Monday's high, Monday's low for the E-mini. Above it or below it? You can give an answer, Jonathan, on the first one, and then we'll go through a lot fast. Below it, which means that we're below Mondays. Y'all know how I always tell you to watch Mondays? Well, I got every thing I'm trading numbers. Let's just keep doing it, okay? All right. NASDAQ, 309.68, 303.37. Above or below it? Now let's jump down to gold, silver, all that's below. Let's go to Apple. 302.296. Above or below? Monday's high, Monday's low. AMD, 563, 535. Above or below? Intel, 141, 136. Above or below? Here's one. MU, Monday's high, Monday's low. 1213, 1164. Remember I gave you 1164 stop on MU, and I told you the pivot number was 1214. 1213 was the high on Monday. That's why I gave that the pivot number to you. Okay? Gets above that, you know where your risk is. NVIDIA, 214, 207. Above or below? Tesla, 415, 394. Above or below? Here's the big one. QQQ, 745, 734. Above or below? SPY, 750, 743. Above or below? Notice I said I'm long SpaceX, I'm long Intel, and I'm long NVIDIA, but I got a collar on those trades. That's why I got a collar, because they're really negative right now, but I want to hold it, okay? SpaceX is 177, 154, everybody, okay? But that's how Mondays, how many people have ever heard me say, you got to watch Monday? You see what the value of that is here on Thursday, looking at that in perspective? Now, Jonathan, look at a daily, if you will, on IWM. What was Monday's high, Monday's low?
I got a high of 299.5 and a low of 296.
And if you look at it right now, we're 98.21. It's pulled back in about the midpoint of it, hasn't it?
It has.
So when you hear me say, hey, folks, it's Monday, this is what we're looking for and why it's important to keep current on the current week. So now here's the big test of all. On a week like this, should you have a lot of positive delta? In fact, the most bullish you could be would be neutral delta with maybe a positive delta on IWM or MU, those two. And that's how a portfolio this week survived what's going on. You see the difference of using what we teach you now, tying it all together. Now you see why I taught you about positive delta, negative delta, how to manage your portfolio, because it's going to become important once we get to July. I won't have time to stop and say, hey, do this, do that. I want you to learn this stuff. You'll do a lot better in the second half of the year if you learn the art of managing your delta in your account. Does everybody here know how to get the delta on their positions? What I would suggest to you, call your broker and say, hey, it's right here on Thinkorswim and Tasty Trade. They give you the delta. But if you don't know how, you already know how to do it. Jonathan, I think we've accomplished a lot today. Now, I want to remind people, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I got a special broadcast on Atlas, and we'll review what we learned this week, and then Emily and I will go through it, and that'll be at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
3 p.m. Eastern. Sounds good. Sounds good. We're going to finish up today's session talking about Tom's Futures Plus education, which the next session is Monday night. To start, it's always good to start. The first trade day of the week is great because most of it's a watch day, but we can get together on Monday night and Tom can give his opinion for the week right there after the first trade day of the week. So it sets up nicely. But there is risk involved in trading anything. Of course, futures are a leveraged product, so there's definitely risk involved in trading futures and futures options. Tom, you want to go through these? Or you want me to?
I want you to go through it because the only thing I want to say, I helped people get a scholarship last night because we got long to E-mini and got out at 85 on that rally.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Tom's experience is extensive, over 40 years trading the markets. Owned a brokerage firm and was a member of the CME for a very long time. You were part of the DAX team, the U.S. A lot of people don't know what the DAX is. Part of the DAX.
18 years I taught it.
Brought the DAX to the U.S. and you used to teach a course called Dancing with the DAX. I understand that was very good. You were a marketer and trader for the CME and the CBOT. So that's pretty impressive there. Tom, do you ever live in Chicago?
I never lived there, but I sure did spend a lot of time up there. I learned to go between May and September.
Tom was one of only 50 to be hand-selected for a Globex terminal, which you don't know what that was. That was the forerunner for electronic trading. It really changed everything in trading the markets.
It gave me quite an advantage once the rest of the retail market started trading electronic. I already knew all this stuff electronic-wise using platforms. That was quite an advantage also.
So Tom retired from futures for many years, and after a few years, actually just I guess 2 or 3 years ago, we had a doctor that came to one of our small classes and convinced Tom to start teaching futures over the web again. And so that's where we're at now. We've had a rebuilding of the Futures Plus education kind of portal and kind of document of everything we house here for futures education. Like I said, Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time is when we get together in the live Zoom session. All sessions are recorded. We have over 70 plus now of the sessions, but here are some stories from the students. David said, learning futures from Tom has grown my account through his educational process. That's what we want. Bill said, having known Tom for around 15 years, maybe closer to 20 now, if you want to learn futures, he's the guy you learn from. Tom Busby. Ron sent this in. He says, each day using Tom's pivot number, I'm able to stay on the right side of the market and be able to think clearly about being long, short, or out.
Playing into today's market.
Sure is. So over the next 90 days, join us on Monday nights to get involved with futures education. That's what this slide here is saying. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Tom teaches short-term trade setups, swing setups, and also position changes. We'll talk about Delta. We'll talk about S&P, NASDAQ, crude oil, gold, silver, you name it. Like I said a moment ago, we've held over 70 plus, 75, I think, to be exact. All sessions have been recorded, and once you join, you get a document with all those recordings to start reviewing. Here's a couple that we've gone through. Talked about trading the first hour of the cash market with futures. Talked about the S&P, micro S&P a ton. Talked about options on how to trade options on the S&P. Gold, like I said, pretty much every futures, not every futures market, but the big futures markets Tom's gone through. Tom even taught how to find his daily pivot. Crude oil, silver, credit put spreads in case you like selling credit put spreads. The Dow futures, bond futures, and his 1% strategy. Understanding postings that Tom sends through the Telegram, because Tom will communicate with you through the Futures Plus Telegram channel. That's actually where everything takes place, is a Futures First Education Telegram channel. And the big lesson to learn right away once you join is, Tom calls it the T-Buzz 3-step. So great, simple trade setup we've discussed quite a bit.
It's something that a lot of people really pay for the course with the scholarship. We had a nice trade last night. Got in, set our target, and let it run.
All right, the special offer today is not $2,000. It's $499 for 90 days access to Tom's Futures Plus education. And what you get, again, you get 90 days of live education. You get the 75 plus and counting on-demand educational sessions. You get Monday night live with Tom at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can learn how to trade the S&P, NASDAQ, crude oil, gold, you name it. If it's a futures or futures options, Tom's there to teach you. So we talk about day trading using reference bar setups at night. We talk about weekly structured future setups. We talk about 3-day algo positioning, of course, at the first of the month. And all that encompasses options trading. Again, access to the class archive. 90-day membership for $499.
Yeah, and when two things, when gold gets hot again, I'll show you an option trade on gold that you put money in and then you get it balanced out where you have no money on the trade. It's a great trade during the bull phase of a gold market. But William asked a great question. It says, is the futures class something he can start now or should he wait? He knows nothing about futures. There's no better time. I'm biased, of course. I think everybody ought to have a futures account. In fact, if you'd have been watching Micron, how crazy it was, you could have bought the NASDAQ futures and did pretty good, if that makes any sense. Okay. So yeah, definitely. At that price, it's a steal.
So I'll type the link into the chat, but go to dtitrader.com/futures or call us 904-706-3532. Enjoyed the session today, Tom?
Yeah, it was a great session. We got a lot of education in here. Again, to remind everybody, today's Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow for Train and Trade. And be sure you're on T-Buzz TV to get early information in the morning. Join TNT if you want some actual detailed type trades going off. And finally, become part of our Futures Online, Futures Plus. I think you'll find with 52 live lessons, it's definitely worth the price. Try it for a quarter, and then you can apply that towards the year if you want to do it.
All right, Tom, we're going to replay today's session, folks. I think there's a lot of good nuggets in today's session. Enjoyed it. I'll see you later on. I'll talk to you later on today. And just one more reminder, next live sessions for Tom. We have Train and Trade tomorrow at 11. Our broadcast tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. with Tom to be live. Sunday night planning. Don't want to miss that at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then Futures Plus Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time as well. Thanks, Tom.
William, I think the annual price is, you know what the annual price is, Jonathan? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, let me just click the link here. I think it's on the order form. Yeah, $14.49 for annual, or $4.49 for 3 months. See that?
Oh wow, they got the price too low. That's okay. All right, sounds great, William. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.